What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building. Singer, songwriter, producer Jeanne of Eraserhood Sound is pulling all the way up. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon, y'all. 5/12's the release date. Go get that. Abby's gonna be here real soon, y'all. Keep it locked. What up, Rach? We see ya. Abby is in the building. ASP, we see ya.
Hey, good.
What's up, sis? How you doing? Super happy to have you here. What's it like
I'm actually in Philadelphia
New York
right
today?
Yeah.
You're in Philly? Okay. Did you get some cheesesteaks?
No, I
Did you
don't
go to
need meat,
Geno's?
so definitely no cheesesteaks.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I see we got people still coming through, so we'll give it another tip.
Oh, yes.
How have you been, though? You good? Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's see. I see we got 13 on the line.
Yeah, dude, I've never actually done any kind of Instagram live. This is my first, I've never done this before. I don't know what's...
I got
digital world.
Now, I gotta say this. I did my research. You're quite handy. You do a lot. You wear a couple different hats. We see that. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside chats are similar to interviews. However, we take the time to do the research. We want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. We got about 10, 11 questions. We got show and tell. I'm super psyched, y'all. Tonight, we are joined by New York City-based recording singer, songwriter, and producer Jeanne of Eraserhood Sound. Now, Abby's journey with music started well before she could ever stand in front of a microphone. In fact, she might tell you that her first words were sung and not spoken. Over the course of the next 15 to 20 years, Abby would be influenced by her surroundings in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, not to mention friends, family, and some establishments. In 2017, she would go on to release her self-recorded debut album, Rebel Love. Years after that, she would spearhead her own independent record label, releasing 2 LPs, 7 wicked cool, very color variant 45s. And fast forward to 2023, she is a month away from her debut release on Eraserhood Sound. So I thought it would be fantastic to bring this incredible human being here for a fireside chat. Please help me welcome Miss Abby Jeanne. Abby, welcome.
Wow, you really do your research.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. I'm a student. What can I say? So while I was doing my research, I realized a couple things. You don't really stay in one spot too often. So I want to start with a very important question. It's 2023. The month is April. How would you describe the space that you're in right now in terms of the music that you're creating?
I describe it. I don't know, other than new. I mean, I'm a forever evolving artist. So I'm really excited, actually, because for a long time, especially during COVID, I felt like stuck in a rut. I mean, I think a lot of artists did feel that way, but mostly there wasn't much work to do, like in terms of like the industry was kind of confused. And I spent all this time working on these songs, and now I'm finally spending time working on songs that are right now, like this very, I feel excited and like refreshed by that.
Okay. Now, would you still consider this rock and roll with the dreamer's soul in terms of,
I
the
consider
feel of
myself a rock and roller with a dreamer's soul. So yes, in every sense.
Okay. So we mentioned that 2017 was when you released your very first LP. I would love to know, can you tell us what the milestones were that brought you closer to this point in your career?
So like before I even recorded, I was homeless for a while, and I was just playing with my guitar. I lived in a car for a year, and then I lived in Europe for a year and a half, just busking and playing, and wanted to learn how to produce. So when I moved back to my hometown, I was actually producing like for my friends who were in hip hop. Weirdly, I was learning how to produce in a DAW, and Rebel Love was
Yeah.
the first solo project that I recorded myself. So, and it wasn't, I didn't have a band or anything. It was just me. A couple friends played on it, but mostly it was just me putting things together. Because even then, at the time, I was performing with like a loop pedal, like a keyboard, a guitar, like
Yeah.
pad. I would bring like 5 machines, and I would like loop all of.
I've seen this in real life, though. So I know what
Yeah,
you're
so that's
talking
how it
about. That's
started.
incredible.
So now, I mean, I've gone through like multiple bands, and I've learned production over the years. So I know how to be in a studio. I know, you know, what I want basically and what I want to do, you know, because I think a lot of artists who don't learn how to self-produce like that, or at least get into it, they get to a studio and they just have no idea like what to do. You know what I mean? They have these songs or ideas, but they don't know how to like go about working in that space.
So I got to bring us back a second because you use this abbreviation. You said DAW. Now I know what that means, but I need you to tell everybody what it stands for because you were talking about digital
Well, a DAW
workstations. So
is
go
just
ahead and let them know.
like a professional recording software, essentially. So I just use, yeah,
Fruity Loops,
Logic. Yeah, I use
Sonar,
Logic
Pro
Pro.
Tools.
So that's just professional recording software.
Okay. Now you talked about not really having a band, but I've seen various names on different album credits and things like that. Can you tell us who some of the people that you create and play music with? I've seen Jennifer Raids and Mark Yancheski on more than one project. So let us know who the people are that you're making music with,
Yeah, so
those that are influencing you as
Mark
well.
was my first real bass player in Milwaukee. When I was doing this looping years ago, he like saw a show and was like, "Who's your band?" And I was like, "I don't have one." He's like, "I'm a bass player. You need a bass player?" I'm like, "I sure do." So we became really close friends, and he like stuck with me for like many years actually. He never moved. He didn't end up moving to New York City with me when I moved here, but he did come along. We went other places. We went to LA together and multiple tours, and mostly everything. I was so used to doing things alone. And Mark was one of the first people that I like. He opened up to me, but I opened up to him in terms of co-creating, and he actually had a hand in writing one of the songs on the record that's coming out with Eraserhood. So we we've whittled things out together as friends. And Jenna also, her name's Jenna Radis, by the way. Like radish, but radish. But she, it's a similar situation where I was looking for a different, Mark's been with me from the start. Jenna was kind of picked up along the way, and she was helping with arrangements and stuff like that. So we all just ended up co-writing together, which was really like my first co-writing project for me, like for my music, for Abby Jeanne music.
Okay. And give us a lens into what it takes to put a band together and how long
Wild,
it takes.
man.
Or how long it took you.
I never wanted to be a solo artist. I wanted to be in bands like my whole life, you know, like I love music. I always wanted to be like in the background, you know, but fate just didn't want it that way. I don't know.
I would never believe that after seeing your live performances.
I'm
You want to be in the
this,
background. Come on now.
this life, this is destiny or whatever. But yeah, it's funny. I wanted to be in bands, and it never really worked out. Just because mainly people are always like, you need to be you need to be up front. And eventually, I just got so sick of people telling me that I said, fine, I'm just gonna do this alone then, and that's what ended up happening. So, and that's when I just decided, you know, before finding a band, but when I was doing like my work just on my own with my instruments, my loop pedals and things, and learning to record, the band and like came to me, if that makes sense. Yeah, and it's kind of been that way since. I mean, I've had like probably 4 or 5 different bands, and it's forever changing because I have some songs, you know, have horn sections, and some songs have backup singers, and some songs have 3 guitars instead of 1. So sometimes, depending on like the tour or like where I'm playing, I'll have a bigger band, and other times I'll have like a 4-piece band. or it'll just be me. It depends, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Hard.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Sage and Cigarettes and Know Better are the songs that are on the 45, but you actually recorded another song earlier with the Eraserhood sound. Can you tell us about that and kind of give us a lens into your
Oh
connection
yeah.
to Eraserhood
Well, we
sound?
recorded all those 3 songs kind of at the same time, and
Okay.
I didn't know if we were going to put it out on 7-inch or what. You know, I actually hadn't even heard of them. It was my manager. I had these songs kind of kicking around because of COVID. So I wrote, you know, 2 worth of material
Yeah.
in COVID. And that's where we are was actually one of the first songs that came out of that because of all of the changes, obviously, that everyone was going through and still are going through, like in this life. But that actually was like a 2.5-year-old song that me and Jenna for probably 2 years. It was like this, and that's definitely like a 50-50 Abby and Jenna song. That was like the first big thing we ever did together. Because up until that, we had never written anything or put anything out that was co-written like that. And I just thought it was like such an epic song that I just really wanted to record it, you know? So my manager, Dan, has seen something about the Eraserhood guys, and I had been thinking about recording the song for like 2 years, and I'm like, who's gonna record this? Because it's such a like epic song, you know. It's like it really is a lot of arrangement and like changes and like feelings, and it's just not like you can't just take that to like just anybody, you know. It just doesn't work like that. Producers and music as well. It's a whole nother element of establishing the song. So anyway, so that had been kicked around for a long time, looking for the right person to do it. My manager was like, hey, check these guys out. He stumbled upon them somehow. Like, I don't know, he heard it through someone or I don't know how, and suggested I check it out. And I was like, yeah, we should totally like pursue these guys. So ended up hiring them to do the songs. And then we all had so much fun. I think they were just like, okay, we want to put these songs out. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. We had we got off really well. So. Yeah.
Very awesome. Now, one of the things I noticed, this was also, I think, one of the first times where you actually had the Eraserhood Sound in-house band playing with you and not your original, members. Can you give us a lens into kind of what that first meeting was like, and what, what it was like recording,
well, I definitely was not sure, like how that was going to go. And I also insisted on bringing Jenna because she co-wrote That's Where We Are. And I was like, this is very much me and her. Like we need to incorporate her, which I think I do for them. I at least I don't want to speak for them, but I'm pretty sure they usually do it just them. So we had another person in the room, but it was awesome. I mean, I was actually quite like stunned at how much they could do. Yeah, it was cool. It was really fun too because it was like 2 guys, 2 girls. It was very balanced. The room was very balanced. Yeah,
good
and I think it
energies,
was
good
new for them
vibrations.
too, not just having like 2 women in the room, but I don't think many people have brought them music like that. They're used to writing kind of around or for versus producing with, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tracking. So here is the beautiful opaque blue color variant right here with a fantastic label. 5/12/23 is the release date.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you, when I listen to this, okay, I'm always like sizing up 45s because you only get 2 songs on them. But this is really like a complete like full course meal because with Sage and Cigarettes, I feel like there's this version of like healing, and I want to focus on the word healing. I know that's a big thing with you, and for me, I always think that music is healing. But with Sage and Cigarettes, we get this thing of like, whatever you need to kind of pull yourself up to kind of get out of that rut. And then when you flip it over, I like fell out of my chair. I was like, whoa, it's like I'm better now. I'm stronger. I've learned from these lessons of the past. And so it's a real experience. And we don't always see that on 45. So I just wanted to say, congratulations on putting out such a beautiful record. But really give us a lens into what these songs are about, how you got there with them, And I'm always talking about connection points when it comes to the music because I listen and my heart does this thing. And the next thing I know, my mind, they're like talking, they're working together.
Yeah, I mean,
Give us a
everything I
lesson.
write is extremely personal. Like, I don't just write a song to write it. It's definitely like it comes out of you without like your permission sometimes, you know, like obviously you're the one writing the song, but I mean, it comes out in a certain way. Sage and Cigarettes in particular is like an extremely close song because it's literally about my experience as a woman and like having to heal from just being a woman in general. And funny is like the song is called Sage and Cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for like 15 years and I actually quit. So bless up. I actually quit.
Why'd you do that? Why would
No,
you do that?
I'm trying to live, dude. I'm out here. But it did, like, you know, it's years of just like tears and crying and trying to get through life. Survive, like literally from like surviving, like not feeling like I didn't have a home and traveling. I was traveling around the world, you know, with hardly anything. Lost family members. People died, you know, I lost friends to drugs, like, and I'm a woman in this world running my own life. So that song is like for all of every woman, you know, in the world that's like alive. The other song, No Better, is kind of about like the disconnect that we have, I think, with people. Like, I'm a really like in-person person, you know. I like to get to know people in real life, and I like when people valuing like spending time with someone and actually getting to know them versus just like passing by. Like, you'll never really get to know me that way, you know. And that's kind of No Better is like my life experience or a pattern I noticed with people, which is that most people are afraid of other people. And yeah, it's kind of like No Better is like open your heart, man, open your mind. Like, I could, you know, the first line is how's a life so sweet, feeling like a bitter end. I could have known you or shown you a little tenderness. Like, it's literally that simple. So yeah, that's kind of there's many layers to that song as well, like revolved around like real life and digital world and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, it's really just about knowing better.
No, I love that. Now I got to ask you a question. In the very beginning of the song, I don't know if it's like an ad lib, but you sing something. It sounds kind of like
And No Better?
high. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Oh yeah, I actually say
Yeah.
no better, no better.
So when I heard that the first time, like it blew my mind. I said, "Holy cow!" Like she's teasing us right now. This is just like the top layer of what she could do, and I really kind of like plugged in after that. And then of course, you know, you open up with the intro and you just kind of let it out. But I mean, it was kind of like a snapshot of your greatness in the very beginning of that song, and I'm like, whoa, this is someone special. Like, we got to bring him through for a fireside chat. So I thank you so much for making that record, and I love the
They
pairing
go
of
together.
those two songs together. I think
They're
that
perfect.
you mentioned so well, so well. You know, there was the third one in play, and I don't think it would have been the same 45 if
That's the
both
thing.
those
It's definitely
weren't.
like those two are a collection, and the other song is kind of this big thing I did with Jenna, you know, like a big composition. So they definitely sit aside from each other for sure.
Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about some of the illustrations on here, because I'm always paying attention to the labels. Eraserhood Sound always does great with it. But I haven't seen anything as signature.
Thank you.
I mean, that's incredible. Where do these
so
where do the
I'm
come
an
from?
artist. I make sculptures and paintings and mixed media film. And I also do graphic design. I design everything that I put out. All of my photos, like everything from photography to design, all my records, my website, whatever, you know, everything is literally DIY. And I actually wanted to be an artist my whole life. So, I mean, I have been an artist, but no, I know, but I mean, I wanted to be a visual artist. I told you I was afraid. I didn't want to like be this like leader. You know what I mean? I wanted to just hide and like draw, you know. But that's just not who I am. Like, I'm a Leo, you know. You know, but so now I can incorporate my art into everything I do, and it's really important to me because it is like a signature thing. And I would like to eventually be recognized for my music, my spirit, and my art. So I'm glad that you noticed that because it means a lot to you, you know.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. So it's about that
Yeah.
time for show and tell. Are you ready? You're ready to participate. Okay, so show and tell, folks. This is like 2 to 3 items where we ask our guests to share prized possessions, maybe play it, show it,
Okay,
and tell
well,
a
I
little
wish
story about
that
it.
I
I'll let
had
you go.
more stuff with me, but unfortunately, I'm in Philadelphia. So, can
Yeah,
I grab something really quick? I, hold on.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not ready.
5, 12, 23. Make sure y'all go cop this. OG black for the real ones. Opaque blue for the cool kids.
All right, I got it.
Shout out to everybody on the line.
Okay, I
We
got a
see
couple
you.
things. So this is the. So we just talked about this,
Okay.
but this is a button. Um, it's like the Abby Jeanne logo,
Mm.
but it's a self portrait, obviously. Like make everything. I was just telling you,
Yeah.
I make all of my shirts. I do visual art. I have gallery. I throw galleries. Art is like just such a big part of my life because I grew up going to art school in the hood. Weirdly, it was like a weird thing that happened in the 90s. I grew up in like the middle of the city, but had this art education, so it's been pretty indoctrinated into me. The second thing is I have this. This is a pin that I wear. It's a and where I grew up, the people who kind of took me in as a kid, they own this rock and roll cafe called Hi-Fi Cafe, which is where I pretty much discovered like vinyl, my love of vinyl and music. There's a jukebox, like weird artists. I was only like 12 or 13, so that was like a huge inspiration for me. And then I ended up like going through a lot there, like as a coming of age, just in life. But they have this big neon crown. So I don't live in Milwaukee, obviously, and so much stuff has happened, good and tragic, there. But I always wear this pin. It kind of like reminds me of where I came from. And then the last thing that I have is these rings. It's the same. I have a crown here, a music note, and an infinity band. And I also have a ring that I wear all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah.
I love that.
They're all like symbols just to like remind me of who I am and what I love the most. And it's art. It's like love, and like always remember where you came from, kind of thing. you know. Yeah,
No, totally, totally.
yeah.
I think that's like so important. So for the next question, I want to kind of focus on, you spearheading this indie label. And I got questions because I love color variants, and I don't know if I've seen a
What?
discography of color variants as cool as yours. So how did this idea start to go from, one, trying to start your career as an artist and to wear all the hats just for that? And then you're like, I think I'm going to start a label.
Well,
How did it work
I'm obsessed
out?
with vinyl. So I've been collecting records since I was a kid. And so even when I wasn't like
Yeah.
living anywhere, I always made sure that I had my records like somewhere safe. Um, they define
Yeah.
my life. I mean, you have like literally the soundtrack to your life, like when you discover music, especially as a young person, I will never
Yeah.
get those feelings back. Like the feeling of like, it literally makes me want to cry. It's just like the feeling of, I'm really
Don't
gonna
do
cry.
that. I'm a cry here too.
Anyway, so records, they're like super important to me because they changed
Yeah.
my life, and they guide me in this world. Literally, music guides me in this world. So of course, naturally, I wanted to release music on vinyl. I also like DJ, so there's nothing cooler than like having your own record. There just isn't. Like it's so and I also appreciate something when it's like rare or like I value something physical. It makes me feel like I don't know. It just feels. I mean, records can break and things, but it just feels like immortal in the way that you can like touch it. It's there in front of you, and the idea of only putting a few out is always really cool because it's like every single piece is like its own piece of art. Every record.
what's some of the valuable lessons you learned as you kind of explored this path of trying to do the DIY label, having to work with vendors, things like that?
Well, I mean, I never really, I never saw myself as like a label owner. I just saw this as like a way to put my records out. And also like Hi-Fi Records, which I came from Hi-Fi, you know, Cafe, was just another way of being like, this is my home, here we go. We're exclusively selling them here. And then that turned into like, okay, now we're exclusively selling them at only local record stores. And then those all sold out. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this for my record shops. Like all my, you know, friends that run record stores in the Midwest. So that, like, you know, it's fun. It's like your community, you know, and they support you. And then your fans end up going to those places to go get those records. So it's cool.
How many would you press about, and how are you like deciding to do the splatter variants with pink? And then, I mean, it's all over the place.
I mean,
how
it's all depends on the record. So that's the thing with the 45s too, is that every 45 is kind of like a different sound almost. Like every song sounds totally different. And it's almost like mini concepts in every 7-inch. So that's where things come from. I mean, they're always like, if you go to the Jimmy High 7-inch, it's like a dark wave vibe. And if you go to Cosmic Beings, it's like the cosmic splatter. So the design of the record goes with the song itself, if that makes sense. It's all conceptual.
I'm tracking. Everything looks great on the website, by the way. I mean, the color coordination, it just all fits. It's a place that you want to like go and like look around. And you're good with the pen too. I love your little biography that you have on there. Like, very good stuff. So speaking of your biography, I read this blurb about meeting God in India, becoming a psychedelic nun in Thailand, became psychedelic, fooled around with the CIA. Now listen, Abby, everybody loves a good story. So I need you to kind of, from everything that I said there, give us a lens and give us a story that's really meaningful.
Well, I can't talk about that last one because it's a little sketchy, but I will talk. I've traveled, I've had like I've been lucky to like save up, and then I've never had it my whole life. It's not a thing. I've been living day to day for a long time in terms of like, I'm going to go do this thing. I get what I need to go do the thing, and then I go. And especially like living the nomadic lifestyle. My mom lost her house when I was younger, so I kind of and I left home when I was like 17. So I got used to being unstable, I suppose, even though home is actually really important to me now, like really important. I think because of that reason, but if we want to talk about one of those things, I would maybe talk about like Thailand. I kind of went on a pilgrimage with one of my best friends there, two of my best friends actually, but in separate places at different times. And we got motorcycles and we drove all around Thailand, like ancient cities and all sorts of crazy things, and ended up in a temple that had been like raided by the Thai government because it was supposedly like a cult temple. And like, you know, we're so smart, so we're like, yeah, we should go. And it's like in the middle of nowhere. And we got there and they took all of our things. Like they took our clothes. They made us put these like dress on, these guards on, and took our phones and basically like indoctrinated us for a whole day. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Actually, like kind of life-changing, because we had this meditation with like the Buddhist priest who was like the head of the temple and all these things. And then they tried to convince us to stay, and we were like, we got to get out of here. But I was like really fortunate to have that experience. And it was a very psychedelic experience. I could get deeper into that, but maybe we should. I got a lot.
We need a part two if we get into the psychedelics, we need a part two.
Wild things that I can't even believe. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Like, just even when I was in India, I was driving through the Himalayan mountains, like going like, 75 miles an hour, like on the Himalayan mountains. And I looked down and I could see the Ganges, and I was just like, I'm so blessed to be here. Like, you don't really have to have anything to have a life-changing experience, you know? Yeah, it's true.
That's super.
It's like the world's, if you give in, if you lose everything even, which I feel like I have multiple times over, I've always been gifted
Yeah.
as much as I've lost. Like it's a weird balance. I just got deja vu too, like really weird deja vu. Yeah, life's wild.
So a quick follow-up. Now, did you just show up there? Was this like a tour bus where they
No,
take you to like this monastery and you say, hey, we
yeah,
want to
no,
do
no,
this? And they're
no.
like,
We
yeah, come
actually
on in.
got like caught snooping around. So like we were on this like pilgrimage. Like it was just me and him, me and my best friend. Shout out Randy if he's watching. We were on motorbikes. We bought motorbikes when we were there. And we're just driving through Thailand, like literally just on our own, like off-road and going all sorts of places, and like having, you know, spiritual experiences, and ended up seeing this place like from the side of the freeway or the road we were on. We were on some road and we saw it. The temple looks like a giant UFO, and you can see it's like a circle with a giant gold dome on it. We didn't know we were going to go there. It just happened. We were like, let's go there. Like, it was like, let's see what that is. And then we got there, and then we were like on the property, and some people in like there was no one really around where we were because you couldn't get in. You can't just get into this place. You have to be like invited in. So someone saw us. I think there was like a security camera or something. And it was kind of like, someone drove up to us like on like a cart of some sort, like a, I don't know, four-wheeler of some kind. Sometimes Colin was like, what are you doing here, you know? And we're just like, we want to know about the temple, which was true, you know? But then that was like,
Yeah. I can't hear you.
yeah, they came up to us and basically said like, okay, you're going to come with us now. And what are you going to say? Like, you can either say, no, we're leaving, but I'm crazy. So naturally I was like, yeah, I am you.
Let's do
I got to
it.
know.
That's so funny. That was a good story. I want to circle back. So this wasn't on the list, but can you give us a lens into the records that move you most? Like, what are those records that you kind of came across early on, the records that you still look for,
Yeah.
the ones
Well, I
that
love all
move you?
sorts of music, like mostly old music. I'd say from like anywhere from like the 30s to like the early 90s is like where I just love older music, but in particular like 60s music and garage rock music. I don't know why, but I just fucking love it. I can't get enough of it. I just want to listen to it all day. And those songs, one of those records, it's called Stop and Listen, which is a record that I eventually put out. So it's a record from the 60s that came out on Capitol, but the band, it was called The Shag. They never put anything else out. And it was from my hometown, this band. They moved to LA, but they were from my hometown. And I heard it on the Hi-Fi Jukebox when I was 13 for the first time. And the song, I can't explain what happened, but it was like, it changed my life. Like, I just like listened to the song. I was like, this is it. This is it. This is it. I didn't know what that meant. I was just really, I loved the song. I would go there every day. I would put a quarter in the jukebox. I would play the song. I was like, people are going to hate me because I'm just going to keep playing the song. And eventually I recorded that song of my own, a version of my own. I put it out on 7-inch. And now, years later, I now own the original music to the song. I was just gifted last month the original like handwritten music to this song, and it's like an underground like cult 60s song, which I found out once I moved to New York. All these other DJs knew this song, and it's like a thing. And I was like, oh my god, I'm not alone. Like, this is crazy. And now I own the music to the song, and it's like it's hanging in a frame in my house, and I literally it's like it's wild. Like, that's what I mean. Like, music just guides you. You don't know why. It's a mystery, and it all kind of like comes back. And so, sorry, to answer your question, I love underground music. I love underground 60s music, soul, garage, lo-fi stuff.
Yeah.
That's really like where it's at. And I love a good like dance 60s dance track, which I think is why I like garage, because it's a mix between rock and roll and soul. It's like it's got like these heavy hitting beats and these like soulful loud lyrics, but like these like really wailing guitars and like really like piercing rubber band sounds that I just love grooving out to. So that's
Yeah. You know, this idea of music guiding you, it's really interesting because I have an affinity for garage.
yeah.
Soul is my primary, funk too. But I was introduced to garage through Keb Darge, who you might know about. If not, you'll probably meet him on the scene at some point. But that was when I really liked that kind of raw, before the fault line kind of thing
Totally.
feeling that came from the music back then. And then I would go on to meet a lady named Miss Goldie, who's a DJ in Australia. And she really kind of emphasized this idea of geography being an important piece to
Wow.
the music that she would find. And that really led me back to upstate New York, where I was born and raised. Well, I wasn't born there, but I was raised. And so I started looking for local records, Albany area, Schenectady. And what I was finding was garage. And you probably know this very well. When you turn the record over on the B side, you usually get something more soulful, R&B like, but still in the zip code of garage. And that led me to finding this musician from the 60s, Utica, New York. His name was Trey Lotz. I get real creepy in the DMs. I'd be reaching out to people. So I reach out to Trey. And this is early in kind of like my exploration of trying to preserve music from the past in my limited capacity. I reach out to this guy and I'm like, hey, are you like Trey Lotz of the Roosters? And he's like, yeah, I am. I'm like, can I talk to you on the phone? I'm like, I got questions. I give him like the whole background on me. So it's now like 2022, maybe February. I'm in like this like ski lodge in this giant room with the fireplace. And he calls and he's ready to talk. And like then I'm like, oof. I'm like, I gotta go. I don't care what's going on in the world. I'm about to take this phone call. Trey Lotz is on here. This is like part of the journey. So I'm sitting there and he's telling me these stories. Like he met Patti LaBelle before she was Patti LaBelle. He talks about Jimi Hendrix before he was Jimi Hendrix. And I said, Trey, I'm like, would you please do a live stream interview with me? He's like, geez, like, I don't know, man. He's like, nobody asked me about this stuff in 50 years. And so we end up doing the live stream. But that was really kind of my connection, this chapter of life where I was being guided with the music, the players on the scene to get the sound, then to find the records back home, and then to find the people. And in just talking to him, we learned so much that no one knew about this guy and his brothers and friends and the band they made. And because you're from New York City, or that's where you live, I'll share this with you. One of their 45s says recorded at the Apollo. And so I'm like, yo, Trey, we got to talk about this because I saw that there was supposedly a record that you recorded with Decca that never came out. And I'm like, y'all played at the Apollo? Yo, no, you're going to trip when you hear this. He goes, Don. He goes, we went to school in Utica. The name of our apartment complex was called the Apollo. I was hilarious. Like, what? So I had to just kind of share that with you because I love garage and I kind of knew that you liked that sound. And anyway,
thank you for sharing.
Cool,
I love
garage.
That's so sick.
Yeah. I appreciate that. We got 2 questions before we dip. One of the questions, and I ask all my guests this, is there a quote or mantra that you hold close to heart that you think of during times of uncertainty and also times of celebration?
I always say, just keep surfing, man. Like, you surf the wave, you'll be okay. Like, you just gotta surf. Like, life just keeps throwing, it just keeps throwing stuff, and it just still today, like yesterday, like life is crazy, And so, I guess that would be like, kind of a mantra that I think that, and like, love is where it's at.
I love that. I really do. I was thinking we were going to get something complex from you, really like deep, where we're going to have to transcend to fully like interpret it all. But I'm going to steal that. I'm going to steal that. Just keep surfing. That's what you got to do. It's all about riding the wave, making the best version of the situation. And I always say, bring the best version of yourself to every situation you possibly can. Now, before we go, I want to make sure folks know where to find you. If you got any, I know you got shows coming up. Let us know how we can stay in touch with Abby Jeanne, where we can find your music,
totally. Well,
where
I got this record coming out, so if anyone is interested, they should definitely check it out. And you can find me on Instagram. That's like where I'm at right now, like in terms of digital world. I'm on Instagram. All of my shows will be listed on my Instagram. There's some show dates coming up. I got all sorts of things in New York City, but then also some potential dates with a group called Say She. So if you want to, you should just follow me on Instagram, and then you can find out when those shows are.
Okay. Okay, well, that's very cool.
Oh yeah.
Are you gonna tell them about YouTube?
Go to my YouTube. Yeah, no, I don't usually exploit myself on YouTube. I just do it, you know. No, but actually, I'm also working on right now. I'm in Philly because I'm doing more music with Eraserhood. So we've been working on some new songs, and I also have a new music video that's going to come out with one of those songs. We don't know when that will be, but it will be in the future. So people should definitely stay tuned to that. But yeah, if people are interested in like healing, growing, and transparency, and music and art, they should definitely check out my YouTube because I got some psychedelic stuff up there. And also lots of music videos and music related stuff.
Now, everybody's asking me to ask you this question right now. Can you give us a lens into what's going on at Eraserhood Studios? I mean,
I'm there, so that's probably the lens. That's the lens I got. Yeah.
Very cool. I had to ask. I'm so excited. I just want to show this one more time. It's available in opaque blue color variant. Debut 45 Eraserhood sound. OG black for the real ones. Blue for the cool kids. Abby, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was super awesome to talk to you and, you know, kind of learn about your journey with music, get a lens into some of the stories. We'll post this afterwards, but thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody who stayed on the line to watch tonight. Waxvillain. Oh, before I did.
No,
anything
just
you want to
thanks
say
for
before
having
we
me.
go?
It's nice to meet you, and it's good to.
Likewise. Very cool. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out of here.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.